Hello everyone, I'm back with a fun little melee only build. I have the cricket equipped but not gonna use it. Got the Book of Serpents for some melee retaliation damage. I decided to go with Baleworth because it's gonna increase my melee damage recharge rate as well as provide some sustain at low health. And then of course we have the Shadowmist ring. Uh, which will help dash through enemies, freeze them up. Um, yeah, you might say that's not exactly melee. I don't give a shit. It kind of fits the build nicely, and it's going to help us out a lot, especially in combination with some of the arcana we end up getting later. You'll see. Uh, the run starts off pretty, tame. We've got a small group of assassins here, and just trying to line them up for those dashes. I'm thinking the main issue here is going to be stamina management, so you'll see me mostly trying to preserve stamina, perhaps a little overly so in the beginning, I'm not sure. I try not to sprint a lot or dash unnecessarily. I basically just walk up to enemies until my Shadowmist ring is in range. Then I dash in once or twice and try to finish them with a punch. I end up almost dying and getting into some pretty tricky or stupid situations. But the longer I play, the more I start getting the feel of things, and I'm also helped out tremendously by some of the arcana that we pick up later, as I said. There we go. And we get our first one right here. And they are both crap. So forget what I said for a moment. The first two arcana that I rolled here were completely useless. I decided to save my point for later use. I do end up getting very lucky with the amount of elixir drops as well. So between those and the Baleworth, I end up getting quite a bit of sustain and survivability options in this run. Um, Surprisingly, I feel as if this run would have been worse with Henbane. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but I remember distinctly getting very low in the middle of large groups of enemies, and pretty sure it was the healing Witchfire essence or whatever that Baleworth drops, which saw me through those tough times. Um, you see me dodging into the green projectile and it not doing anything to me. I'm not sure if that's working as intended, but it was funny nonetheless. Get hit in the face, dash back, retaliate. So basically this is the run. All we do is dash and punch and dash some more. And depending on the situation, we'll lean more heavily into one or the other. Yeah. Bit of a chill moment here. Let's see what we get. I think here is, well, yeah, weakened enemies. I decide to go for that since, having limited offensive options, I figured it helps to have less HP on the enemies. That seems like a no-brainer. And then we check out the map. We have quite a few, low or moderate threat mobs, so we're going to go tackle those first. Try to work our way up to the extremely dangerous one, and then see if we can challenge the familiar. Punch this lonely assassin in the face. He dies. Looking back at this run here, I remember passing up on some very powerful decay-related arcana. And at the time, I thought to myself, why would I pick those? I think I had decay. It was one of the options that I could have picked. And I thought to myself, why would I pick that? Because I don't have any decay source of decay damage. And reviewing this footage, I just realized how wrong that was, because actually I have the Book of Serpents, which retaliates with decay on hit. So if I'd had that combined with atrophy, I probably could have been a melee tank as well. Not complaining though, I think the picks that I do end up making work out in my favor a lot, but just something I realized that I could have gone a different route, and if possibly could have been well. Here we get our first calamity. It's a bunch of revenants, and I do actually end up getting into a bit of a sticky situation, not so much because of the revenants, although they do kind of drain my stamina the way they line up. I end up not being able to dash through all of them in a row, and occasionally I get tagged in the middle of a group. I get stuck. Also, there is this remaining, not handgunner, I guess blunderbusser, who's shooting from the flanks, occasionally messing things up for me. And I think this little encounter here is the closest I get to dying. And when I start thinking, you know, well, this was probably a bad idea, this probably doesn't work. But you know what? Experience, you know, from experience, I know that you can struggle with something easy with whatever build you're running, and you might think, well, this is shit. And if you just push through that little moment and keep doing your best with what you got, you will sometimes be surprised at how well things turn out later on. In life too, not just in the game. Yeah. So anyway, here we stumble quite a bit here. I keep trying to break line of sight with that ranged enemy and try to pick these guys off one at a time, two at a time, whatever can be done. And as you can see, the biggest danger here is getting trapped in the middle of the group with no stamina, because as they hit you, even if you have a little bit of stamina, it will be gone once you get hit or poisoned. And you know, trying to do melee only or dashes only is, you know, you're not gonna go very far without stamina. Yeah, I think this is the lowest point of the run here. Blurry vision, almost dead. Pop my last salve, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm probably gonna scrap this idea and start over, or started having some doubts, but also a sense that, you know, maybe this was just poor play on my part, and there's, you know, the build is actually perfectly viable. It's just you also need to spend a little bit of time fumbling around with a build before you can truly unlock its potential. You know, it's not. I think it's giving yourself too much credit as a player to think that the first time you try out a new combination of abilities, you're going to do it justice with your play. Probably not. Oh, and here we pick up a very, very important part of our build, Ice Statue. So if we manage to freeze an enemy with our dash, they will be frozen until we deal damage with our weapons, which we are not going to use. So they will effectively be frozen permanently. So you can have a large group of minor enemies. As long as you freeze them up, you can keep them frozen and deal with the rest at leisure. Here we go. I forget what we got here. Yeah, you see me here fumbling to actually activate the bloody crystal because all the other items. Okay, we get rejuvenation, increased stamina, perfect to be honest for our build. Perfect for those you know, dashes. We get to put in more dashes, more damage, more freeze chance, and also for our melee attack. I forget, but I'm pretty sure the melee attack consumes some stamina as well. There we go. Dash, punch, dash. So we do it. Okay. I haven't tried this on Irongate Castle yet. I suspect it will be a little more challenging. The other problem with this build is you got to be really careful with traps. I do end up running into a few of them later. Whether it's the exploding witches or the ice traps, that's a problem. And I remember trying something similar in the past, and one of the bigger hurdles you can get into is effigies, man. Like they can also kind of ruin your day. I forget if you can do damage to them with the Shadowmist dash. I think the answer is no. It has to be physical damage. I'll test that out later, but I remember struggling with a similar build, either melee or spells only, and trying to destroy effigies. There were a whole bunch of them, and you only get so many melee attacks in a period of time. Flinchless is not bad. Heavy spell recharge, whatever. I think I reroll and I get a bonus elixir, which again, considering how much we're taking damage and getting into the face of enemies, is not a bad pick. Granted, our elixirs are not going nearly as far as they would with Handbane, but still, every little bit helps. And I think here I'm trying to go down to fight another relatively low threat mob, and it turns out it's a bunch of these poison shield swordsman dudes who are not necessarily the easiest pick to fight, in my opinion. They're some of the more annoying low tier enemies, let's say. Decay damage, taking decay damage in general is pretty frustrating in this game because you get slowed down, your stamina gets drained, so it's just it can make a bad day worse, basically. Something that I could have been doing more and better is using the full range of my Shadowmist ring to close the gap faster. I noticed that I don't actually hit dash until I get way closer than I absolutely need to be because the target is already acquired, as you can see by the reticle, the targeting brackets or whatever you want to call them appearing around the enemy. So here, well, here I do it pretty early, but earlier I feel like I could have dashed sooner. And here, well, increased decay damage, I guess that wouldn't have been so good. Blood transfer again, more elixirs, absolutely welcome. I briefly consider messing with the warden, and I say, you know what, I have some faith in this build, but not that much. At this point, I was still not sure if it was gonna cut it for a full clear or not. And I mean, you know, I'm not saying I did do a full clear, you'll see, but my plan generally is to try to kill all the mobs and then defeat the familiar. I don't really have the time. I don't think it makes for a very exciting video to just walk around to every little chest, every little curse site, and try to get every little secret. That can be a bit boring, and it's not something I do on every run. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I was trying to see if there's anything I can spend my feathers on, and decided, nah, save them for later. Yeah. Quick side note, I'm rocking the cricket here solely because the game doesn't let you unequip your primary weapon, and I thought I'd equip the cricket simply because it's like the smallest on screen, so it's the least likely to hinder visibility. That's pretty much the only reason I'm using it here. I'm having it equipped. I don't know if this is true. I've heard some people saying that depending on what weapon you have out, your move speed differs. I have doubts about this, but I've heard some players saying that that is the case, that you move faster with some weapons out, like in CS:GO or something. I don't know. Maybe. I haven't really tested it. Yeah. I know there's one extremely dangerous camp left here, but I decide to try to clear the smaller one first, see if I get any additional arcana that could benefit us, maybe even get lucky with some elixir drops and not take too much damage ourselves. And here is one of those situations where I see this whole caravan of enemies with a bloody grenadier lined up in this narrow canyon with traps front and back, so I think, fuck, this is bad. I dash through one of them, which is fair enough. I think I end up just running away from the projectiles or eating some of them in the back. And then I think let's see what happened here. Okay. And here is where I could have been dashing more, because remember I have that ice statue or frozen statue arcana, so if I could just freeze up the enemies, let them stay frozen, I would have had more time to deal with the Grenadier, because pretty much all the other enemies in there are classified as minor. But yeah, I'm just thinking. All I'm doing here is avoiding damage and thinking how to approach this without running out of too many resources, because I still have that extremely dangerous camp. I'm still hoping that maybe I'll be able to challenge the familiar. But it goes alright. It goes right. We slowly dash through. Book of Serpents putting in some good work. Remember that in addition to retaliating with decay damage, it also has a chance to insta-kill enemies, both minor and major, granted a higher chance for the minor ones. Yeah, here is where I arguably fucked up by not taking Atrophy. Although more stamina, again, not bad. And we do get to a point where our stamina recharge is ridiculously high, and I'm going to ask you guys for your opinion on what exactly happened there. But it gets to a point where I consume my stamina, I do something, and it instantly pops back up. And I'm not sure exactly what contributes to that, if it's a bug, if it's some broken feature, or if there's some synergy that I'm just not understanding, but I will point that out to you guys in a sec, because our stamina gets, and our stamina, or sort of our action rate, gets really out of hand very soon into this run. You'll see. I run into some plants, which is not great, considering I have one healing elixir left. I see that big dude over there, and I decide to mess with him later and try to get yeah, and I fall on the other side of the boat. Kind of annoying. Try to eat around the edges a bit here. Clear out some of the smaller enemies. Dash through them. Punch them. The usual order of business. There's a portal. I'm thinking, hey, you know, maybe this could be, you know, the end of the run. I just pour it out and say, this is it. This is all I could achieve with melee. But I decide, you know what? Nah. Let's just really try to push it to the limit. See what can really be done here. Punch. Oh yeah, and then we get we get handgunners, and this guy here we just dash, punch. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you noticed that, but when I punched him, it's like my stamina instantly regenerated from the punch. I don't know what that is, but if you pay close attention to the second, I think the second shielded enemy that I fought there, it was dash, 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 and my stamina kept going down, down, down. Then I use my charged punch, and it's like my stamina immediately fills back up. Am I imagining that? We're gonna keep watching this footage and see if that's something real or completely in my head, because I swear I get to a point where it gets impossible for me to run out of stamina. So okay, so we dash. I think we okay, punch him. Okay, this guy dies pretty quickly, so ignore that. But let's see, more stamina, rejuvenation, Witchfire orbs. Oh yeah, and here I trigger a second calamity, and I won't say anything, I won't spoil it, but I will say this: they really need to work on their mini bosses. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe I'll just you know, make my way closer to the familiar and fight the calamity wherever it hits me, because The actual Calamity Catalyst is way across on the east side of the map, and I'm not going over there to punch some skulls. Instead, we're fighting Dimaker or something, the Destroyer. Except, it's Dimaker the Perpetually Frozen and can't do shit. Okay. So yeah, here we go. Just pay attention to my stamina bar and tell me if you notice anything strange. Okay, boom. Wasn't that insanely fast recovery right there? Okay, again. Boom. Boom. Bam. And then as soon as I punch him, it's like it instantly fills back up. What am I missing? I don't know. I'm happy about it, but I don't know how it works. Okay, here we go. He's dead. Just like that. No weapons, no spells, just the good old dash and punch. With the right arcana. Sure. And here I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll be able to pull the same bullshit on the shield bearer as I did on Dimaker. So what do you guys think? Will it work? Yeah, if you fought this enemy for any number of times, you'll know that. It'll probably work. Okay, dash, dash, dash. Pay attention to my stamina. Dash, punch, instant reload. Dash, 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 punch, instant reload. So, I don't know how, but I've reached the point where I practically have infinite stamina. And occasionally my punches do 200 something, 300 damage. Okay, 260, but I could have sworn I saw one that was a lot more than that. And he's dead. So yeah, call this build whatever you want. If you have a problem calling it melee only because I use dash, then that's, you know, fair enough, I guess. But let's call it Street Fighter. How about that? The Street Fighter build.